I've been invisible for 10 years. Tonight, that changes. My name is Adeline, and I'm standing in the back of the Marriott ballroom watching my father claim credit for everything I built. Senator George Taylor, my father, grips the podium like he owns the world, his silver hair catching the camera lights as he delivers his victory speech to a room full of people who think he's some kind of political genius. This campaign was built on hard work, dedication, and the unwavering support of my family, he says, gesturing toward my brother Curtis, who's beaming like he just won the lottery. I want to laugh, or scream. Maybe both. Dad, you killed it out there, Curtis says as we gather in the private suite afterward. He's loosening his tie, that easy smile plastered across his face. The polls were right. We crushed Holmes by 12 points. We. Like Curtis did anything besides show up and look pretty for the cameras. It was a team effort, Dad says, accepting a glass of champagne from Mum. She's wearing that practiced smile she's perfected over 30 years of political events. Curtis, you were magnificent during the debates, really showed your leadership potential. I'm standing by the window, watching the crowd disperse in the parking lot below. Nobody's looking at me. Nobody ever looks at me. What about Adeline? Penny asks. She's the only person in this room who actually knows what I do. She's been working 18-hour days for months. Dad glances at me like he just remembered I exist. Of course, Adeline's research was thorough. Research. That's what he calls it when I spend weeks crafting his policy positions, writing his speeches, and managing every crisis that threatens to derail his career. She's always been good with the details, Curtis adds, and there's something in his tone that makes my jaw clench. Very behind the scenes. I turn from the window. Behind the scenes? You know what I mean, Curtis says, that condescending smile never wavering. You're great at the groundwork, the foundation stuff. But Dad and I handle the big picture. The big picture. Like when Dad nearly tanked his career 3 years ago with that bribery scandal, and I spent 2 months making it disappear. Like when Curtis got caught with that escort in Richmond, and I buried the story before it hit the papers. Like when Dad's approval ratings were circling the drain last spring, and I orchestrated the entire comeback strategy that just won him this election. Adeline's contributions have been invaluable, Mom says quietly, but even she won't look directly at me. Absolutely, Dad agrees. She's got a sharp mind, very analytical. It's just, well, politics is about connection, charisma. Curtis has that natural ability to inspire people. I watch my brother puff up like a peacock. Curtis couldn't inspire a drowning man to grab a life preserver. The voters want to see strength, Dad continues. Leadership. Curtis embodies that. He's got the presence, the gravitas. People look at him and see a future senator. And what do they see when they look at me? I ask. The room goes quiet. Dad's eyes narrow slightly, like he's trying to figure out if this is a trick question. They see... He pauses, choosing his words carefully. They see someone who's very capable in a supporting role. Supporting role. 10 years of my life reduced to a supporting role. The thing is, sweetheart, Dad says, and that word makes my skin crawl. Politics is still very much a man's game, especially at the federal level. Curtis has the natural advantages, the presence, the authority. Authority, I repeat. You understand? He says. You've always been practical about these things. Practical. That's another word for invisible. I think I need some air, I say, heading toward the door. Adeline, Mom calls after me, but I'm already in the hallway. I lean against the wall outside the suite, trying to steady my breathing. Through the door, I can hear them continuing their celebration. Dad's laugh booms over the others. Then Curtis's voice, clearer than the rest. She'll get over it. She always does. Just keep her busy with the transition planning. Dad replies. Give her something to organize. She likes that stuff. What about the Senate office? Curtis asks. Are you really going to make her chief of staff? Dad's pause stretches long enough that I press my ear closer to the door. We'll see, he finally says. She's useful, but, well, image matters. Especially now. I need someone who can command respect in those meetings. Someone who looks the part. My hands are shaking. 10 years. 10 years of 18-hour days, of sacrificing everything, of making him look like a genius while I stayed in the shadows. She did the grunt work, Dad continues. But you're the heir, Curtis. A woman's place is in the background, supporting the vision, not leading it. The heir, the grunt work, a woman's place. I step back from the door, something cold and sharp crystallizing in my chest. For 10 years, I've been the architect of his success, and he thinks I'm just... What? A secretary? A research assistant? My phone buzzes. A text from Elena, my old college roommate, who's now some hotshot investigative reporter. Congrats on the win. Hope your family's ready for the spotlight. I stare at the message, and for the first time in hours, I smile. They have no idea what's coming. 3 years ago, I saved my father's career. Tonight, I'm remembering exactly how. Adeline, we need to talk. Dad's voice was tight when he called me into his home office that October evening. The mahogany desk was covered with documents, and his face looked like he'd aged 5 years in a week. What's wrong? I asked, closing the door behind me. Sit down. I sat. Dad poured himself 3 fingers of bourbon, which was never a good sign. There's a problem, he said. A big one. He slid a manila folder across the desk. Inside were bank statements, wire transfer records, and photographs of Dad shaking hands with Marcus Webb, a construction mogul who'd been indicted for bid-rigging federal contracts. Jesus, Dad. It's not what it looks like. It looks like you took $200,000 from a guy who's now facing federal charges. Dad's jaw worked silently for a moment. The money was for legitimate consulting work, before I knew about any of this other business. Consulting on what? Infrastructure policy. Webb's company has expertise in... Dad, I held up one of the bank statements. This deposit is dated 2 days after Webb's company won the highway contract, the same contract the FBI says was rigged. He drained his bourbon. I need you to make this go away. Make it go away? Dad, this is... I need you to fix this, Adeline. You're the only one I trust. The only one he trusted. Not Curtis, who was too busy playing golf with donors. Not Mom, who'd probably faint at the sight of these documents. Me. How exactly am I supposed to fix this? You're smart. You'll figure it out. I spent the next 2 months figuring it out. I traced every transaction, identified every witness, and found 3 different ways to explain away the money. I leaked stories about Webb's other business partners to muddy the waters. I had our lawyer file motions to seal certain court documents. I even arranged for Dad to make a very public donation to a veterans charity, the exact amount he'd received from Webb. The story died. Dad's name never appeared in the indictment. Webb went to prison, and my father got re-elected. You saved my ass, Dad told me afterward. I won't forget this. But he did forget. Or maybe he just chose to. Adeline, Penny's voice snaps me back to the present. We're in the campaign office, boxes of files stacked everywhere as we prepare for the transition. You okay? You've been staring at that computer screen for 10 minutes. Just thinking. About what? I minimize the browser window I've been staring at. A news article about Webb's release from federal prison last month. Nothing important. Penny sits on the edge of my desk. You've been weird since the victory party. What's going on? Define weird. Quiet, distracted, And you keep checking your phone like you're expecting bad news. My phone buzzes. Another text from Elena. Working on a story about political corruption. Mind if I ask you a few questions? I delete the message without responding. Sloane wants to see you, Penny says. About what? Transition planning. She's in Dad's office. I find Sloane Edwards pacing behind Dad's desk like she owns the place. She's been his campaign manager for 6 years and she's never liked me. Too much influence, she says. Too much access. We need to discuss your role going forward, Sloane says without preamble. My role? In the Senate office. Your father and I have been talking. And? We think it would be best if you took some time off, maybe traveled. You've been working non-stop for years. I sit down across from her. You're firing me. We're giving you a break. A well-deserved break. On whose authority? Your father's. Where is he? Meeting with party leadership. About Curtis's future. Of course he is. Planning Curtis's political career while I get shuffled off to the sidelines. What if I don't want a break? Sloane's smile is razor thin. Then we'll find you something appropriate. Maybe communications. Or constituent services. Constituent services. Answering angry phone calls from voters. The political equivalent of being sent to Siberia. I see. I'm glad you understand. Your father values your loyalty, Adeline. But it's time for the next generation to step up. The next generation. Meaning Curtis. When does this take effect? Immediately. Clean out your desk today. Security will escort you out. Security. Like I'm some kind of threat. I stand up. Fine. Adeline. Sloane's voice stops me at the door. Your father built an empire. Don't do anything to damage his legacy. I turn back to face her. His legacy? You know what I mean. Actually, I don't. Spell it out for me. Sloane's eyes narrow. Some secrets are better left buried. For everyone's sake. Is that a threat? It's advice. From someone who's seen what happens when people get ambitious. I walk back to my desk, where Penny is pretending to sort files while obviously eavesdropping. So? She asks. I'm out. What? Why? Because I'm not Curtis. Penny follows me as I start emptying my desk drawers. This is bullshit, Adeline. You built this whole operation. Apparently that doesn't matter. So what are you going to do? I pull out a small flash drive from the back of my desk drawer. It's been there for 3 years. Insurance I hoped I'd never need. Every document, every bank record, every piece of evidence from the web scandal. All of it. I'm going to think about my options. What kind of options? My phone buzzes again. This time, it's a call, not a text. Elena's name appears on the screen. I answer. Hello, Elena. Adeline, congratulations on your dad's win. I was hoping we could catch up. About what? Oh, you know, old times, your family's incredible success story. Maybe some of the behind-the-scenes details that make it all so fascinating. Penny is watching me carefully. She can hear the edge in Elena's voice. What kind of details? I ask. The kind that make for really compelling journalism. Are you free for coffee tomorrow? I look at the flash drive in my hand, then at Sloane's office where she's probably already planning my replacement. Actually, I say, I think I am. The family dinner is at Mom's favorite restaurant, the kind of place where senators bring their wives to celebrate and the waiters know not to interrupt important conversations. Curtis is already 3 drinks in when I arrive. There she is, he says, raising his glass. The woman of the hour. I thought that was you, I say, sliding into the booth across from him. We're both winners tonight. Curtis's grin is sloppy around the edges. Dad's already talking about my Senate run in 6 years. 6 years? When he retires, the seat stays in the family. Mom appears beside our table, fresh from the ladies' room. She's wearing her pearl necklace, the one she only brings out for special occasions. Are you two getting along? She asks, settling in next to Curtis. Always, Curtis says. Adeline and I were just discussing the future. Your future, I correct. Our future, the family's future. Curtis leans forward. Dad wants me to start building my profile. Maybe run for governor first, then move up to the Senate. What about me? Curtis laughs. What about you? Where do I fit in this grand plan? Same place you always have, behind the scenes, making sure everything runs smoothly. The waiter appears with Dad, who slides in next to Mom. He looks tired but satisfied, like a man who's just secured his kingdom. Sorry I'm late. Had to take a call from the majority leader. About what? Mom asks. Committee assignments. Looks like I'm getting judiciary. Curtis whistles. That's huge, Dad. It's what we've been working toward for years. Dad signals the waiter for a drink. All of us. Speaking of work, I say, Sloane told me I'm being reassigned. Dad's expression doesn't change. We thought you might want a change of pace. Did we? You've been working non-stop for a decade, sweetheart. Maybe it's time to explore other opportunities. What kind of opportunities? Curtis jumps in. There are lots of options. Think tanks, consulting firms, maybe even law school. Law school? You're smart enough, Curtis says. You could probably get into Georgetown. Make something of yourself. Make something of myself. Like I haven't been making something of myself for the past 10 years. I already have a career. You have a job, Curtis corrects. There's a difference. Dad's drink arrives. Bourbon, neat. He takes a sip before speaking. Curtis is right. You're 32, Adeline. Don't you want more than just this? This? Working for the family. You're brilliant. You could do anything. I like working for the family. But is it what you really want? Mom asks gently. Or is it just comfortable, like I've been coasting all these years instead of building their empire from the ground up? What I want, I say carefully, is recognition for what I've already done. Curtis snorts. Recognition? Yes, recognition. For what? Research? Filing? Scheduling meetings? The table goes quiet. Even the ambient restaurant noise seems to fade. Is that really what you think I do? I ask. I think you do important support work, Curtis says. But let's be honest. Dad and I are the ones making the big decisions, the strategic calls, the leadership stuff. The leadership stuff. Yeah, the stuff that actually matters. I look at Dad, waiting for him to correct Curtis, to acknowledge what I actually contribute. Instead, he's studying his bourbon like it holds the secrets of the universe. Dad? He looks up. Curtis has a point, honey. You're incredibly valuable in your role, but what? But you're not a leader. Not in the way Curtis is. You're more of a facilitator. A facilitator. 10 years of strategy, crisis management, and political warfare, and I'm a facilitator. Ready for another 10 years behind the curtain? Curtis asks, grinning. Because that's where you belong, sis. In the background, making sure the real players can do their jobs. Mom reaches across the table and pats my hand. Honey, there's nothing wrong with being the power behind the throne, but there's everything right with being on the throne, Curtis adds. Which is where I'm headed. With my help, I say. With everyone's help, Dad corrects. This is a team effort. Some team members are more essential than others, Curtis says. Some are replaceable. The word hangs in the air like smoke. Replaceable. Curtis, Mom says sharply. What? I'm just being honest. Adeline's good at what she does, but it's not exactly rocket science. Any competent person could handle the logistics. Logistics, I repeat. Yeah, the grunt work, the detail stuff. Important, sure, but not strategic. I stand up. I need to use the restroom. Adeline, Dad calls after me, but I'm already walking away. In the bathroom, I splash cold water on my face and stare at my reflection. 32 years old, 10 years of my life, and they think I'm replaceable. My phone buzzes. A text from Elena. Coffee tomorrow at 10? I have some interesting questions about your father's business relationships. I type back, make it 9, and bring a recorder. When I return to the table, they're deep in conversation about Curtis's gubernatorial campaign strategy. They barely notice me sit down. The key is name recognition, Dad is saying. We start building your profile now, and by the time you announce, you'll be the frontrunner. What about funding? Curtis asks. I've got connections, donors who've been with me for years. They'll support you. All of them? Dad pauses. Most of them. What about the ones who won't? We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I think about Marcus Webb, sitting in his prison cell for 3 years while Dad walked free. I think about all the bridges I've helped burn to protect this family. Actually, I say, I think some of those bridges are closer than you think. Dad looks at me sharply. What do you mean? Nothing. Just that politics is unpredictable. It's only unpredictable if you don't control the narrative, Curtis says, and we've always been good at that. We have, I agree. Very good. My phone buzzes again. This time it's Elena calling. Excuse me, I say, standing up. I need to take this. Adeline, Dad says, but I'm already answering the phone. Elena? I hope your family is ready for the spotlight, Adeline, because tomorrow we're going to talk about everything. The coffee shop is crowded enough that our conversation will blend into the background noise. Elena arrives exactly on time, carrying a leather messenger bag and wearing the kind of determined expression that makes politicians nervous. You look good, she says, sliding into the booth across from me. Success suits you. Does it? Well, your father's success. Eleanor sets a small digital recorder on the table between us. Mind if I record this? Depends what we're talking about. Your family. Your father's career. Some interesting financial transactions from a few years back. I stare at the recorder. What kind of transactions? The kind involving Marcus Webb. The name hits like a slap. Elena's watching my face carefully, looking for a reaction. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. Elena opens her bag and pulls out a manila folder. Webb got out of prison last month. He's been very chatty with certain journalists. About what? About the $200,000 your father received right before Webb's company won that highway contract. My coffee suddenly tastes like ash. That was investigated. Nothing came of it. Because someone made sure nothing came of it. Eleanor leans forward. Someone very smart. Someone with access to all the right files and connections. Eleanor, it was you, wasn't it? You cleaned it up. I don't answer. Eleanor takes that as confirmation. Webb says your father knew exactly what he was paying for, says they had multiple meetings about the contract before the bidding even opened. Webb's a convicted felon. His word doesn't mean much. Maybe not, but bank records do, wire transfers do, and I have copies of both. Eleanor slides a document across the table. It's a bank statement I recognize, one I thought had been sealed permanently. Where did you get this? Webb kept copies. Insurance, he called it, in case your father ever tried to throw him under the bus. Which he didn't. No, he didn't, because you made sure the whole thing disappeared. Eleanor's smile is sharp. You're very good at making problems disappear, aren't you? My phone buzzes. A text from Penny. Sloane's looking for you. Says it's urgent. I ignore it. What do you want? I ask Elena. The truth? The whole story? how it really works in your family. And if I don't give it to you? Then I run the story without your input. Senator's daughter orchestrated cover-up of bribery scandal. How does that sound? It sounds like the end of everything, but maybe that's not such a bad thing anymore. I need to think about it. You have until tonight. I'm filing the story tomorrow morning. Elena packs up her recorder and stands. For what it's worth, Adeline, I always thought you were wasted in that family. You're smarter than all of them combined. After she leaves, I sit in the coffee shop for another hour, staring at my phone. Finally, I call Penny. Where are you? She asks immediately. Sloane's been calling everyone. What does she want? She won't say, but she's freaking out about something, and your dad's been trying to reach you. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The campaign office is mostly empty now, just a few staffers packing up the last of the files. Sloane's in the conference room with Dad and Curtis, all three of them looking like someone died. There you are, Sloane says when I walk in. We need to talk. About what? Dad holds up his phone. I got a call from a reporter, Elena Ryan. She's asking questions about Marcus Webb. What kind of questions? The kind that could destroy everything we've built, Sloane snaps. She says she has documents, bank records. Curtis looks confused. Who's Marcus Webb? Dad and I exchange glances. Curtis doesn't know about the scandal. We kept him out of it to protect him. A contractor who had some legal troubles a few years ago, Dad says carefully. What does that have to do with us? Nothing, Sloane says quickly. Which is why we need to shut this down before it becomes a story. How do we do that? Curtis asks. We discredit the source, Sloane says. Webb's a convicted felon, his word against a senator's. What about the documents? I ask. What documents? Sloane's eyes narrow. You said there were no documents. I said I handled it. Handled it how? The room goes quiet. Dad's staring at me like he's seeing me for the first time. Adeline, he says slowly. What documents is she talking about? Before I can answer, my phone rings. It's a number I don't recognize. Answer it, Sloane orders. I put the call on speaker. Hello? Ms. Adeline? This is Dwayne Holmes. Dad's face goes white. Holmes was his opponent in the election, the man we just defeated by 12 points. What do you want? I ask. To talk, privately, about our mutual friend Elena Ryan. I don't know what you mean. I think you do, and I think you're about to make a very important decision, one that could benefit both of us. Curtis looks baffled. What's he talking about? Meet me at the Watergate Hotel, Holmes continues. Room 412, 1 hour. Why would I do that? Because, Ms. Adeline, I think you and I want the same thing. Which is? To watch your father's empire burn. The line goes dead. Everyone's staring at me. You're not seriously considering this, Sloane says. Considering what? Whatever game Holmes is playing. Dad stands up slowly. Adeline, I need you to tell me exactly what Elena Ryan has. Everything, I say quietly. What do you mean, everything? Every document, every bank record, every piece of evidence from the Webb case. But you destroyed all that. No, I hid it. The silence stretches until Curtis breaks it. What the hell is going on? Dad's voice is barely a whisper. She kept copies. Copies of what? Insurance, I say, looking directly at Dad. In case I ever needed it. Sloane's face is red with fury. You've been sitting on evidence that could destroy us? Evidence that could destroy him, I correct, pointing at Dad. The rest of you are clean. Not if you're involved in a cover-up, Sloane snaps. Then I guess we all have a problem. My phone buzzes. Another text from Holmes. Tick-tock, Ms. Adeline. Elena files her story in 12 hours. Unless someone gives her a better one. I look around the room at their faces. Dad's fear, Curtis's confusion, Sloane's rage. I have to go, I say. Adeline, Dad calls after me. Don't do anything stupid. I stop at the door and turn back. Define stupid. The Watergate Hotel lobby feels like stepping into a political thriller. Dwayne Holmes is waiting by the elevator, looking nothing like the defeated candidate from last night. He's sharp, alert, and wearing a smile that makes my skin crawl. Ms. Adeline, thank you for coming. This better be worth my time. Oh, it will be. Room 412 is a suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Potomac. Holmes pours himself a drink from the minibar and offers me one. I decline. You know why you're here, he says. Enlighten me. Because you're tired of being invisible, tired of watching lesser people take credit for your work. Holmes sits across from me. Tired of being treated like the help. You don't know anything about my family. I know your father took $200,000 from Marcus Webb. I know you covered it up, and I know Elena Ryan is about to expose the whole thing. So you have a choice. Let Elena destroy your father with half the story, or give her the full story and control the narrative. What's the full story? Holmes pulls out a tablet and slides it across the coffee table. On the screen is a bank statement I've never seen before. One showing a wire transfer from Webb to a shell company. Your father didn't just take money from Webb. He took money from 6 other contractors over the past 5 years. $2.3 million total. My stomach drops. That's impossible. Is it? You handled the Webb situation, but did you ever look deeper? Did you ever wonder if Webb was just the tip of the iceberg? I stare at the screen. The shell company is called Potomac Consulting LLC, registered in Delaware, dissolved 6 months ago. How did you get this? I've been investigating your father for 2 years, ever since he blocked my infrastructure bill. Holmes leans forward. The bill that would have exposed these exact kinds of corrupt contracts. You're lying. Am I? Holmes swipes to another document. Here's the incorporation papers for Potomac Consulting. Guess who's listed as the registered agent? The name on the screen makes my blood freeze. Curtis Taylor. Curtis doesn't know anything about this. Maybe not. But his signature is on the paperwork. His social security number. His address. Dad forged it. Prove it. I can't, and Holmes knows it. Here's what's going to happen, Holmes continues. Eleanor runs her story tomorrow. Your father gets arrested. Curtis gets dragged down with him because his name is all over these shell companies. Your whole family implodes. Unless you give Elena the real story, the complete story. With your cooperation, she can write a piece about corruption and cover-ups that brings down your father, but positions you as the whistleblower, the hero. And Curtis? Collateral damage, unless you can prove he was innocent. My phone buzzes. A text from Dad. Where are you? We need to talk. He's panicking, Holmes observes, probably trying to figure out how to contain this. What do you get out of this? Justice. Your father destroyed my career, blocked every piece of legislation I tried to pass, and made sure I could never run for office again. Holmes's mask slips for a moment, showing real anger underneath. He called me a small-town nobody in a private meeting with donors, said I'd never amount to anything in Washington. So this is revenge. This is karma. Another text from Dad. Adeline, please, come home. We can fix this. Can you? Holmes asks, reading over my shoulder. Fix what? $2.3 million in bribes, shell companies, forged documents, your brother's signature on federal crimes. Holmes stands up. Face it, Adeline. Your father isn't just corrupt. He's sloppy, and he's been using your family as cover. Curtis didn't know. Can you prove that in court? The question hangs in the air. I think about Curtis at dinner last night, talking about his political future, about Dad grooming him as the heir, about 10 years behind the curtain. What exactly are you proposing? You call Elena. You tell her you want to cooperate fully. You give her everything. The web documents, the shell company records, all of it. In exchange, she writes the story with you as the source, not the target. And my family? Your father goes down. Curtis depends on what you can prove about his involvement. And me? You become the woman who exposed political corruption at the highest levels. You get book deals, speaking engagements, maybe even a political career of your own. My phone rings. Dad's name on the screen. Answer it, Holmes says. Put it on speaker. I hesitate, then accept the call. Adeline, where are you? Busy. We need to talk, all of us, as a family. About what? About damage control, about protecting what we've built. What you've built, I correct. What we've built together. You're part of this, honey, part of the team. Holmes is watching me carefully, waiting to see which way I'll jump. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you remember what you said about Curtis being the heir? A pause. What about it? You said I did the grunt work, that a woman's place is in the background. Honey, you're taking that out of context. Am I? Because it felt pretty clear. Adeline, you're upset. You're not thinking straight. Come home and we'll sort this out. I look at Holmes, who's holding up the tablet showing Curtis's forged signature. Actually, Dad, I think I'm thinking clearly for the first time in years. What does that mean? It means I'm done being invisible. I hang up and immediately dial Elena's number. Elena? It's Adeline. I want to make a deal. Holmes smiles and raises his glass in a toast. To justice, he says. To revenge, I reply. The press conference is scheduled for 8 p.m, prime time. Dad's victory celebration has turned into a media circus, with reporters cramming into the hotel ballroom like vultures sensing blood. I'm standing backstage with Elena, watching Dad work the crowd through a gap in the curtains. He's in full senator mode. Handshakes, backslaps, that $1 million smile that got him elected 5 times. You sure about this? Elena asks, adjusting her earpiece. Too late to back out now. I mean it, Adeline. Once we go live, there's no taking it back. Good. Eleanor's producer counts down from 10. The cameras go live. Dad steps up to the podium, Curtis beside him looking like the perfect political heir. Thank you all for being here tonight, Dad begins. This victory belongs to every person who believes in honest leadership and transparent government. Honest leadership. The irony would be funny if it weren't so pathetic. My phone buzzes with a text from Elena. Ready? I text back. Do it. Elena's breaking news alert goes out to every major news outlet simultaneously. I watch reporters in the audience check their phones, their expressions shifting from bored to alert to hungry. Senator, a reporter calls out, interrupting Dad mid-sentence. Can you comment on allegations of accepting bribes from federal contractors? Dad's smile falters for just a second. I'm sorry. What? We're receiving reports about payments from Marcus Webb and other contractors. $2.3 million over 5 years. The room erupts. Cameras flash. Reporters start shouting questions. Dad grips the podium like it's the only thing keeping him upright. I have no idea what you're talking about, he says, but his voice cracks slightly. Curtis steps forward. This is obviously a political hit job. Mr. Curtis, another reporter interrupts. Can you explain your connection to Potomac Consulting LLC? Curtis goes pale. I don't know what that is. It's a shell company used to funnel bribe money. Your signature is on the incorporation documents. That's impossible. Sloan appears from the wings, trying to get to the microphone, but the reporters are relentless now. "Senator, are you aware that your daughter has been cooperating with this investigation?" Dad's eyes find mine in the crowd. For a moment, the chaos fades, and it's just the two of us, father and daughter, staring at each other across a room full of strangers. "Adeline?" he says into the microphone. I stand up from my seat in the press section. Every camera in the room swings toward me. "Yes, Dad. I've been cooperating." The room goes dead silent. Even the camera operators stop moving. "Why?" Dad asks, and for the first time in years, he sounds like my father instead of a senator, because someone had to tell the truth. I walk toward the stage. Security moves to stop me, but Dad waves them off. "The truth about what?" "About Marcus Webb, about the shell companies, about how you've been taking bribes for years while I cleaned up your messes." Curtis grabs the microphone. "She's lying. She's having some kind of breakdown." "Am I?" I pull out my phone and hold it up. "Should I play the recording of you calling me replaceable, or the one where Dad says a woman's place is in the background?" "Adeline, please." Mom's voice comes from somewhere in the crowd. She's standing near the back, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, Mom, but I can't protect them anymore." A reporter shouts a question. "Ms. Adeline, what evidence do you have?" "All of it. Bank records, wire transfers, meeting notes. I kept copies of everything." "Why?" another reporter asks. "Insurance, in case they ever tried to throw me under the bus." I look directly at Dad, which they did. Yesterday. Dad steps back from the podium. "This is my daughter. She's upset about some personnel decisions." "Personnel decisions?" I laugh, and it comes out sharp and bitter. "Is that what you call firing the person who built your entire career?" "You weren't fired. I was replaced. By Curtis. Because apparently, I'm just a facilitator. Someone who does the grunt work while the real leaders make the important decisions." Curtis tries to grab the microphone again, but I'm faster. "You want to know the truth about this family?" I say, addressing the cameras directly. "My father has been taking bribes for years. My brother's signature is on documents he's never seen because Dad forged them. And I covered it all up because I thought loyalty mattered more than justice." "That's enough!" Sloan shouts from offstage. "No, it's not enough. It's not nearly enough." I turn back to Dad. "You used me. You used all of us. You turned your own children into accomplices and then threw us away when we weren't useful anymore." Dad's face is gray. "Honey, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You're a criminal, and I'm done protecting you." The room explodes again. Reporters surge forward. Security finally moves in, but it's too late. The damage is done. As they escort me off the stage, I see Mom pushing through the crowd toward Dad, who's standing frozen at the podium. Curtis is arguing with someone off camera, his face red with rage. Eleanor catches up with me in the hallway. "Jesus, Adeline, that was necessary. Your phone's been buzzing non-stop." I look down. Dozens of missed calls and texts. Reporters, producers, book agents. Everyone wants a piece of the story now. One text stands out. From Holmes. "Beautiful work. The FBI will want to talk to you tomorrow." "The FBI?" Elena asks, reading over my shoulder. "Apparently, exposing federal crimes on live television gets their attention." "Are you worried?" I think about Dad's face when he realized what I was doing. The shock, the betrayal, the fear. "No," I say. "I'm not worried at all. Through the hotel windows, I can see news vans pulling up outside. By morning, this will be the biggest political scandal in years. And for the first time in my life, everyone will know exactly who Adeline Taylor is." The FBI arrives at 6 a.m. I'm already awake, sitting in my apartment watching the news coverage of last night's press conference. Every channel is running the same footage. Me at the microphone, Dad's face crumbling, Curtis looking like he's about to vomit. "Ms. Adeline?" The agent at my door is younger than I expected, maybe 35, with the kind of serious expression that comes with federal badges. "I'm Agent Martinez. We need to talk." "I figured you'd be coming." "May we come in?" There are 3 of them: Martinez, an older woman named Agent Kim, and a guy who introduces himself as Agent Rodriguez from the Public Corruption Unit. "Coffee?" I ask. "This isn't a social call," Agent Kim says, settling onto my couch. "We need to discuss your allegations against Senator George Taylor." "They're not allegations, they're facts." "Facts require evidence," Rodriguez says. "Do you have evidence?" I walk to my bedroom and return with a small safe. Inside are 3 flash drives, a stack of documents, and a leather journal. Everything's here: bank records, wire transfers, meeting notes, recorded conversations. 5 years' worth. Agent Martinez picks up one of the flash drives. "You've been collecting evidence for 5 years?" "I've been protecting my family for 5 years. Last night, I decided to protect the truth instead." "Why now?" Agent Kim asks. "Because they threw me away. Because after everything I did for them, they decided I was replaceable." My phone rings. It's Mom. I decline the call. "Your family's been trying to reach you," Rodriguez observes. "I'm sure they have. Your father's attorney called our office this morning. He's claiming you're mentally unstable, that you fabricated evidence out of spite. Did he mention the $2.3 million in his client's offshore accounts?" The agents exchange glances. Agent Kim opens her laptop. "Walk us through it. From the beginning. For the next 3 hours, I lay out the entire operation. The shell companies, the forged signatures, the bribes disguised as consulting fees. I show them how Dad used Curtis's identity without his knowledge, how I covered up the Webb scandal, how the whole system worked." "Your brother really didn't know?" Martinez asks. "Curtis doesn't know anything. He's too busy playing the golden boy to notice what's happening behind the scenes. But his signature is on these documents. Dad forged them. Curtis was in Europe when most of these were filed. I can prove it." Agent Kim makes notes. "What about your mother? What about her? Did she know about the bribes?" I hesitate. "She knew something was wrong, but she chose not to ask questions." "That's not the same as criminal knowledge," Rodriguez says. "No, it's not." My phone buzzes with a text from Curtis. "You destroyed everything. I hope you're happy." I show the message to Agent Martinez. Sounds like he's starting to understand. "We'll need you to testify," Agent Kim says. "Grand jury first, then likely a trial." "Against my own father?" "Against a corrupt public official who happens to be your father." The distinction matters, but it doesn't make it easier. "What happens to Curtis?" "Depends on what we find. If he really didn't know, and if you can prove it, he might avoid charges. And if I can't?" "Then he goes down with your father." Another call from Mom. This time I answer. "Adeline, thank God. Where are you?" "Talking to the FBI." Silence. Then, "Oh, honey, what have you done?" "What I should have done years ago. Your father's been arrested." "I know. I'm watching it on TV." Through my apartment window, I can see news vans lined up on the street. Reporters with cameras, waiting for me to emerge. "They took him away in handcuffs," Mum continues, her voice breaking. "In front of everyone. The neighbors. The press. Good. How can you say that? He's your father. He's a criminal. He's a man who made mistakes. He's a man who stole millions of dollars and used his own children as cover. Curtis is devastated. He's talking about suicide." That stops me cold. "What?" "He says his life is over. His career, his reputation, Everything. Put him on the phone. He won't talk to you. Mom, put him on the phone right now. I hear muffled voices, then Curtis's voice, thick with tears. Are you satisfied? He asks. Curtis, listen to me. I trusted you. We all trusted you. Dad used your name on federal crimes. If I hadn't exposed this, you would have gone to prison for things you didn't even know about. You could have warned me. You could have told me what was happening. Would you have believed me? Or would you have run straight to Dad? Silence. I saved you, Curtis. You're too stupid to realize it, but I saved your life. By destroying it. By giving you a chance to rebuild it honestly. Agent Rodriguez taps his watch. We need to finish this. I have to go, I tell Curtis. Adeline, wait. The FBI wants to talk to you. Cooperate with them. Tell them the truth. All of it. What truth? That you didn't know. That Dad forged your signature. That you were as much a victim as anyone else. Will they believe me? If you're honest, yes. And if I'm not, then you'll go to prison with Dad. I hang up and turn back to the agents. Ready to bring down a senator? Agent Martinez asks. I've been ready for 10 years. Outside, I can hear reporters shouting questions at anyone who enters or leaves the building. By tonight, this will be the biggest political scandal since Watergate, and I'll be the woman who brought it all down. The courthouse steps are packed with reporters when Dad's sentencing hearing ends. 12 years in federal prison. Curtis got immunity in exchange for his testimony. Turns out having your signature forged on federal crimes is a pretty good defense when you can prove you were in Italy when the documents were filed. I'm walking down the steps when someone grabs my arm. Adeline. It's Dad. His lawyer must have gotten him 5 minutes before they transport him back to holding. What do you want? He looks older than his 68 years. The orange jumpsuit doesn't help, but it's more than that. The fight's gone out of him. I wanted to ask you something. Make it quick. Was it worth it? Becoming me? The question hits harder than I expected. What do you mean? You destroyed your own family to get what you wanted. You manipulated people, used them, threw them away when they weren't useful anymore. Dad's eyes are cold. Sound familiar? I'm nothing like you. Aren't you? You spent months planning this. You used Elena, used Holmes, used everyone around you to get your revenge. How is that different from what I did? Because you were stealing money. I was exposing the truth. You were settling a score. Don't dress it up as justice. The federal marshals are approaching. Our time is almost up. You want to know the real difference between us? I say. You did it for money. I did it because you threw me away like garbage after I gave you everything. So it was personal. Everything's personal, Dad. You taught me that. They lead him away in handcuffs. Again. This time for good. Penny's waiting for me at the bottom of the steps. She's one of the few people who still talks to me. Most of Dad's old staff act like I have the plague. How do you feel? She asks. Tired. The book publishers are still calling. So are the TV producers. I know. You could write your own ticket. Tell your story. Make millions. Maybe. We walk toward my car, pushing through the crowd of reporters. They're shouting questions, but I ignore them. I've said everything I need to say. Adeline. I turn. It's Curtis, jogging to catch up with us. He looks better than he did during the trial. Healthier. Less haunted. Can we talk? Penny gives me a questioning look. I nod toward the car. I'll meet you there. Curtis and I find a quiet spot away from the cameras. I wanted to thank you, he says. For what? For saving my ass. The FBI said if you hadn't exposed everything when you did, I would have been charged as a co-conspirator. You're welcome. I also wanted to apologize. For what? For being a shit brother. For taking credit for your work. For treating you like you didn't matter. You did treat me like I didn't matter. I know, and I'm sorry. We stand there for a moment, watching the reporters pack up their equipment. What are you going to do now? I ask. Law school, maybe. Start over. Try to build something honest for once. Good. What about you? I don't know yet. Curtis pulls out his phone and shows me a text message. It's from Holmes. Offer still stands. Chief of staff position. Real power this time. He's been texting me too, Curtis says. Wants to hire both of us for his next campaign. Both of us? He says we're the two people who know the most about political corruption in this city. Figures that makes us valuable. Or dangerous. Same thing in politics. My phone buzzes. Another message from Holmes. Dinner tonight? We should discuss your future. I delete it without responding. You're not interested? Curtis asks. In working for another corrupt politician? Pass. Holmes isn't corrupt. Yet. Give him time. Curtis laughs. It's the first genuine laugh I've heard from him in months. So what then? You're just going to disappear? Maybe. Or maybe I'll write that book. Tell the real story about what it's like to be the woman behind the man. The woman who brought down the man. That too. Mom appears at the edge of the crowd. She's been avoiding me since the trial started, but now she's walking over with purpose. Boys, she says, nodding at Curtis, then looking at me. Adeline. Mom. I wanted to say something before I leave town. Where are you going? My sister's place in Florida. I need to get away from all this. For how long? I don't know. Maybe permanently. The three of us stand there, what's left of the Taylor family, surrounded by the wreckage of everything we used to be. I understand why you did it, Mom says quietly. I don't forgive you for it, but I understand it. Mom! Your father was wrong. About a lot of things. But destroying the family wasn't the answer. The family was already destroyed. I just made it visible. Mom nods slowly. Maybe you're right. Maybe we were all just pretending it was something it wasn't. She hugs Curtis, then turns to me. For a moment, I think she might hug me too. Instead, she just looks at me with sad eyes. I hope you find what you're looking for, sweetheart. What am I looking for? Peace, forgiveness, a way to live with what you've done. She walks away, disappearing into the crowd. Curtis and I watch her go. Think we'll ever be a family again? He asks. We were never really a family. We were a political operation. And now? Now we're just three people who used to live in the same house. Curtis's phone rings. He checks the caller ID and grimaces. Reporter? Book agent. They want to know if I'll cooperate with your memoir. Will you? Depends. You going to tell the truth about everything? Even the ugly parts? I think about Dad's question on the courthouse steps. About becoming the thing I set out to destroy. About the price of revenge and whether it was worth paying. Especially the ugly parts. Curtis smiles. Then yeah, I'll cooperate. He walks away, leaving me alone on the courthouse steps. The reporters are gone now, chasing the next scandal. The crowds have dispersed. It's just me in the building where my father was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison. My phone buzzes one more time, a text from Elena. Proud of you. You did the right thing. Did I? I exposed corruption, saved my brother from prison, and brought down a criminal who happened to be my father. But I also destroyed my family, betrayed people who trusted me, and turned myself into exactly the kind of person I used to despise. Maybe that's the real cost of revenge. Not just losing the people you love, but losing yourself in the process. I walk to my car, past the empty courthouse steps where my father's political career died. Tomorrow, I'll start figuring out who Adeline Taylor is when she's not living in anyone's shadow. For the first time in my life, that person gets to be entirely my choice.